Okay, anybody who did not get their love essence or comes in late can get it at the end. Who, you didn't get any? Okay, very good. Okay. Handout? Who's in charge of handouts? I ran out? Due to popular demand. You'll have to look on with your neighbor. But you're going to be okay. Okay. So, my name is Robert Callan, and to all those who have entered this room through that door, or even in a few cases, that door, you have entered a new kingdom, the kingdom of light. Light, light, light is the alchemical key. And today, we will be exploring the space clearing and your energy frequency and how that relates to light. So I'd like to begin with energy frequency and why energy frequency is important. And when I first do any space clearing of any home or person or place, I always want to test the energy frequency of the person first, and then the place to see what I'm dealing with. So it will inform me as to exactly what, in some cases, if it's very low frequency, it is a tip-off to things. And of course, my normal experience is that in almost all cases, the people's energy frequency is higher than the home or location that I'm space clearing. So when I measure energy frequency, the question is, what is energy frequency? And so let's just take a few minutes to expand on that subject. And frequency is the speed in which an element vibrates. So some of you may remember back in 8th grade where they had that big, in the science class, they had that big chart of all the elements and the gold, the lead, the magnesium, and of course their atomic structure, their symbol, and their atomic mass. And of course, all elements in their pure state vibrate at one energy frequency. Each individual one has a different energy frequency. Now, people, places, and things are somewhat more complicated. So if we're dealing with people, we of course add in their bodies, their physical body, their emotional body, their mental body, and their etheric or spirit body. So that adds a lot of additional information. And so some of you may be familiar with David Hawkins in his book in 1995. I think that was before the cell phone, wasn't it? 1995? In which he, in his book Power and Force, in which he unveiled the levels of consciousness. And let's see, did somebody take my final levels of consciousness thing? Can I borrow yours for your level of consciousness just for a second? Okay. So in the David Hawkins scale, he has both energetic frequency, the emotional state, and view of life, sort of the consciousness of the people. And so shame, being at the very bottom, is a 20. You're miserable. Guilt isn't much better. You're evil. or apathy. You're just beginning to get to seriously below zero at hopelessness. And then up to joy, peace, and enlightenment at 700 to 1,000. Now, this was revolutionary at the time, but of course, 1,000, there is no end to the amount of higher consciousness. But this is very helpful and was revolutionary at that time. Now, I use a bit different scale in the energy frequency that I measure, and mine deals with or is based on brainwave frequency. And so there are 4 brainwave frequencies. There's beta, alpha, theta, and delta. Now, when you're looking at brainwave frequencies, you're looking at the amount of hertz, which is how many brain waves occur per second. And so in beta, you're dealing in 12 to 30 hertz, which is quite a bit. And then alpha, you're dealing in 7 to 12 hertz. Theta, 4 to 7.5 hertz. And then delta, 4 hertz or lower. Now, you'll see that it's a little bit counterintuitive here, because the energy frequency scale next to it, 1 to 10, 11 to 21, 22 to 32, and 33 and above, seems to be going differently. Because when you're dealing in beta frequency, if people who are in beta experience a feeling of separation from oneness, we experience chaos, confusion, stress, depression in our lives. The state has been given the term the living dead. So let's steer clear of beta. And then up through delta, which is, again, enlightenment, peace, space, expansion, and beyond. So that's the energy frequency that I was trained in. That's the energy frequency that I generally use, that I'm most competent in. Although if you know the basis in which the energy frequency is based on, you can just, like your computer can say, well, okay, I'm switching over to David Hawkins scale. Or I'm switching over to, this is the Marie Diamond scale. And, but you don't need to get hung up on which scale you're using. Whichever one you're using, as long as you understand what it's based on, and you can consistently measure, it's a tool. It's only used to provide you with information so that you can get, so that you can be more effective in measuring what has happened with your dowsing. So, who would like to volunteer for me to measure your energy frequency? Okay, come up, sir. Now, you did not get the love essence. So we'll just take this opportunity for just a moment here.
I'll add this.
Excellent. This guy's going to be way up there.
That's 528.
Okay. So we're going to just, for demonstration purposes, measure David Kane. David Kane. So show me David Kane's energy frequency using the David Hawkins scale in hundreds. Is it above 500? Okay, above 500 in tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Come on, dowsing rod. We can't wait around all day here. And then above 60 in ones. So 564. 564. Love. No, wait. Joy. Between joy and peace. David, congratulations.
Oh, good.
Okay. Now, who else would like me to measure their energy frequency? Okay, step right up. Fear not. Fear not, young maiden. Okay. And so now we're going to do it in the Marie Diamond dowsing program. So we're flipping to the brainwave frequency. And your name is?
Jamie, sorry.
Jamie
Neithold Nash.
Neithold Nash. Jamie, show me Jamie Neithold Nash's energy frequency in tens. Above 110 in ones. Is it 116? Is it 117? Is it 116? Okay, so 116. Now, this is not the David Hawkins scale.
Okay.
I'm pleased to inform you.
I was getting a little nervous there. I was scared before.
So if 33 is enlightenment, in essence, in the Marie Diamond scale, you're at 116. So that's very good. But this is not a competition. This is not a competition, people. It's energy frequency is an is thing. It doesn't make anyone better or worse than anybody else. Magnesium has its own energy frequency. Helium has its own energy frequency. It doesn't make one better than the other. However, I prefer gold to lead. So when I'm measuring energy frequency, in essence, what I'm measuring is light. The amount of light in a person, place, or thing. That's what the Marie Diamond measure is. And there's no end to light. So that is what energy frequency is. And so why is this important? Well, we want our home and place that we live or work or exist to be at a higher energy frequency or at a supporting energy frequency to our own life. Sort of like a high energy frequency friend who's like intelligent, who's creative, fun, somebody who just by being in their radiation, it raises your energy frequency. Or, of course, on the other hand, if there's a loser, deadbeat, and ne'er-do-well who happens to walk by, you sort of go, hope they don't see me. So, because that just drags down your energy. All the criticism, condemnation, judgment, negativity. So, we want our home to raise us to the highest energy frequency possible. So, let's just take this room as our home temporarily. And actually, for whatever reason, the American Society of Dowsers gives me the worst energy frequency room always, but it always works in my favor, because then I can more easily demonstrate all the dowsing stuff. So it's actually, everything's perfect. So the energy frequency of this room before we came in here in the Marie Diamond program. Did it even get to 10? Is it 10? Is it 9? Oh, it's 9. Okay, so 9. You're sitting. Technical difficulty. Okay, so 9 is terrible. You're getting to high beta. Pretty good, hey? That means you might not commit suicide. So that's no good. And if you're living in that energy frequency and you're at 116 and you're at joy and peace, then it's like a serious problem. And it's actually more, if you talk about an energy friend, well, you can at least escape from an energy friend. Your home, you're encased in your home. You're sleeping there. You're marinating in there for a long period of time. And that's not what so that's why you space clear your homes and properties and other locations. So what energies are you actually clearing? What energies am I clearing when I do space clearing? So I'm clearing emotional energy, mental energy, discarnate spirit energy, and all energy and other entities. There's discarnate entities, and then there's carnate entities. And all energy basically generated by the human consciousness less than enlightenment. Yes?
What is causing the low energy here?
Well, it is a combination of just what I said. It's a combination of misqualified emotional energy, low energy, low thoughts, criticism, condemnation, hate, worry, any type of negativity. Of course, you have also the earth energies running through the room.
With the architecture also?
Well, possibly. But there's positive and negative vortexes in the room. The negative ones don't help. So there's a lot of things. But we're dealing with space clearing here. So, but we can fix all this stuff. So relax, and we'll get there. So let's just talk a little bit about discarnate entities and carnate entities. Sometimes people get confused about that. So a discarnate entity. So when you think about it, it's discarnate. That means it's not living. So that's a person who has died, and normally you move on to higher realms and continue on with your education and training and or whatever. But in some cases, people do not make that transition. So they're wandering around on the physical plane. In some cases, these people wander around because they hate somebody and they want to kill them, and they can't, and they're sticking around to make sure they finish the job, or other unfortunate things. But in any case, they're not progressing in their evolution, and it's not a helpful thing for us or for them. Then there's carnate entities. Now, a carnate entity, what's that? Well, carnate means that it's alive, right? So, but it's a carnate entity. So everything, all the energies that are misqualified are energized in some fashion originally by pure light. You get pure light, and then you end up criticizing, condemning, and judging someone, and you've then colored it in that way. And let's just look at this COVID epidemic. Think of all the resentment, all the grief, all the criticism, all the hatred, all the negative energies just simply generated from people surrounding this COVID pandemic. I mean, and that's just been 2 years. So, so all these energies build up. Now, now the carnate entity again. So let's say I don't like Scott, and I send out a bunch of hate to him. Well, it goes out. Doesn't affect Scott too much. Burns me on the way out, of course. And then gathers more of its own and comes back. And then I say, well, I really don't like Scott now. So I send out more. It comes back, burns me on the way out again, hits me on the way back. So now, and then I keep revolving it. And then I don't not only dislike Scott, I don't like this other person and this person and that, and the political scene and COVID for particular, really. So all this energy goes out, comes back. I keep charging it with light, right? My original pure light. And it keeps revolving, keeps gathering more, gathering more. Well, at some point, it takes on a life of its own. And that becomes a carnate entity. And it would be a negative thought. It would be a negative thought form. It would be a negative emotional form. But it can actually take on an immense amount. It can take on an immense form. And in some cases, people confuse that with they only think that there are discarnate entities, dead people walking around. But really, in the vast majority of the cases, particularly in the United States, North America, Switzerland, I do not find very many discarnate entities in North America and Switzerland. They've been taken already. Now, when you go outside of those countries, there are still, unfortunately, plenty of discarnate entities roaming around. But so that clarifies carnate and discarnate entities. Does everybody get that? Okay. So those are the energies that we clear when we clear a space. So and of course, as I said, these entities uh, can easily take on a living form created by intense emotional and mental energy, violence, drug addiction, alcoholism, mental illness, and sex practices. Uh, since sort of the sex practices is a sacred fire energy that creates children, you can also create. That's why witches would always engage in these activities. Um, so, so the very next thing I check is I check the number of entities in the location. So I want to find out how many entities there are in this room so that I can clear them. Yes, young lady.
So the entities are from the people who are being there, or that could be from people who are outside, maybe never even enter the space?
Well, it's from everybody who's been around here. It's ever since the building was built. And possibly, well, probably in this room, but I mean, because it's on a second floor, we probably don't have entities from the land up here. But all the people who've been in here, all that kind of stuff. Now, this is a Raymond Grace activity, measuring entities. So, Scott, could you pass this out again for me? And so this is how I measure. So with Raymond Grace, and what I was trained on the L rod, so I like using the L rod. But we're going to do it two different ways. So here is the Raymond Grace pendulum chart. It's not Raymond Grace's, but this is the one he uses. So the question is, how many entities are there in this room, carnate and discarnate, from just the room itself? Excuse me. How many? So are there 7? Okay. So seven entities in this room. Are there any discarnate entities in this room? No. They're all carnate entities. So then what I do is, see, Raymond forced me to learn how to do the, and he was very interesting. Last time I went there, people go try to learn the pendulum, and it's going like that. He said, train your pendulum. Tell it, this is yet, yes, and this is no, and this is adding, and this is subtracting, and get it moving. Come on. And so you actually train your pendulum, and then if it's sluggish, give it a kick. So then what I do, you can do the same thing. How many entities are there in this room? And it'll go to the negative side to 7. And then the question is, then what I like to always ask is, what is the relative strength of each entity? So show me the strength of the most negative entity in this room. See, I knew this was a terrible spot. Okay, 10, 20, 28. Show me the next. Somebody pay attention to the numbers. 28. The next most powerful. 19. The next. 12, the next. 9, the next. 6, the next. 2. Are we down to 7 yet?
6. One more.
One more. The last one. 2. Okay. So that is the relative strength of the entities. Now, the reason I want to find that out is, and again, this is a Raymond Grace thing.
Could you repeat how you asked the question? What is the strength of the?
What's the strength of the entity?
Just of the.
Yeah. And so then, so Raymond, ghost busting. Where's ghost busting here? There it is. Okay, so Raymond is very good at this stuff. He does it much more quickly than I do. Okay, so he identifies the entities. Okay, so most people are possessed with an entity of most people. Well, we'll talk about room. We're talking rooms now. Room, people, same thing. Possessed with an entity of -10 have a tendency of drug use. A 15 is likely to be an alcoholic. A 20 will have suicide tendencies. This chart measures the strength of entities from 0, which is balanced, to -30, which is a serial killer. So we hope so. So we've got a -28 in here. This is bad news. Bad news. And so I always want to see again, what am I dealing with here? 2s, even anything up to 10, but anything really beyond 10 is bad news. So let's get this party started. So yes.
I'm having a little trouble with the chart because let's say that you're going to the inner circle or the outer circle.
I am going to the. So here's what's happening for me. This chart is again used simply for counting for me. So this is negative. See the negative sign? Positive. Now it's going in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then it goes to 29. Well, that's just the way the guy did the chart. But really what happens is if you go past 9, the next one's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. See, it just 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. As long as I'm going that way, it could go even beyond that. I'm just counting. See, mine, it always, when I'm doing this measurement, it goes to this way, and then it goes around to the strength of the entity. And then that's how I count it. Does that help? Okay. We can go into it further at the end if you want.
Do you add all the numbers of the entities together?
Nope. No. These are individual numbers. So the first thing we do when we start space clearing, before we do anything, is we establish an energy. We establish a force field around the home or property or location that you're space clearing. So that has already been done here. Now, first I do myself before I do anything. Then I do the space or property. And then what I do is I establish basically an impenetrable shield around the space that I'm clearing, because there's probably a large number of negative energies anywhere throughout town, throughout the state, throughout the United States. I don't want to take on all of them at once. I'm just dealing with this one area. Now, now nothing gets in, but also nothing gets out. So, so that is the first thing. Now I have a basic protocol that I use. If anybody has an interest, I'll be happy to pass it on to you. You can pick it up right after, but just in the interests of time, it's been done for this room and it's been done for me. And so then the next thing I do is I establish a portal from the third dimension, which where we are, to the fifth dimension, which goes up into the higher realms and gives access to those realms. Now, I generally use a quantum ring for that, but you don't need to use a quantum ring. You can just do it through intention. And then generally what I like to do is I like to do it on a negative vortex, which happens to be here. And I just put it right over the negative vortex. And of course, that makes it a positive vortex, but that's another thing. But then, because I am a earth energy dowser as well, so I do all the earth energies too. But there is now a portal to the that area. Now I like to just put a giant spinning violet flame in there as well, so you can do anything you want in that regard.
And is that where you access the 5D?
No, that's where I dispose of unwanted stuff. So then, let's see here, where are we?
Where we can get more information on how to figure out negative vortex.
Yeah, we'll do, that's another, that was my last class. Okay, so so now what we want to do is we want to start the space clearing. So I always start by flooding the entire area with unconditional love. Just oceans and oceans of unconditional love. And why do we start with love? Because basically anything that is destructive is made up in some way, shape, or form with hate. And love is a particularly effective method for reversing or transforming hate into light, back into its original form. And let's just take a moment to expand on love, because love is a light, a color, a sound, a vibration, a range, and a frequency. So unconditional love is like bright bubblegum sapphire rose light. And it ranges all the way down to, or up, whichever the case may be, to pure pink, tenderness, and the whole range in between. So, and the unconditional love spins clockwise, and the tender love spins counterclockwise. So the whole area is in a spinning, unconditional love, tender love, and all the range in between. And then we move to the violet flame. Now, the violet flame is particularly beneficial because we have now moved from the Piscean age to the age of Aquarius. And what is the age of Aquarius? The seventh ray. The seventh ray. And what is the seventh ray? The violet flame. So we now have access in a deeper, more powerful way to the violet flame. And the violet flame is the transmuting flame. It transmutes, it changes darkness back into light. And forgiveness, mercy, and release. So I think you've all seen this mascot for this school, the panther, and they have this sculpture out here, and that guy looks like he's bad news, and he's got those claws, the big claws, and forgiveness is what releases those claws. That's why it's so important to have forgiveness. Not just mental forgiveness, not just, well, I forgive the person, but I'm definitely not going to ever forget it. Well, that's not releasing the claws. So you release the claws that are basically is holding the misqualified energy to yourself with the violet flame and the love flame. And then it releases and goes over the water wheel, transmuted back into light, and on with your life in a nice, happy, pleasant manner. So the violet consuming flame, very important, spinning. The violet flame, the transmuting flame, spins clockwise. Well, for you, this is clockwise. And then the releasing flame, or lavender flame, spins counterclockwise. So you, again, just flood the whole area, gas the whole area, then put tornadoes spinning clockwise and counterclockwise throughout the area of forgiving, transmuting love, releasing, forgiving love, violet flame. And it's all happening in addition to the love. In fact, you can remember the old dance floors that had this big mirrored ball, and it was flashing lights all throughout the dance floor? Well, I like to make that the love, whatever. And it flashes forgiveness, flashes mercy, flashes unconditional love, flashes tenderness, all throughout the area. And you just keep it going. It's now running. So the whole place keeps getting flashed with all these light essences. So now let's check on where we're at with the entities, because we don't want to have these entities sticking around. And so a little bit like a bug, entities realize that they're light. And so sort of like when there's a big fire, the bugs go to the fire and then they inexplicably dive into the fire. they're attracted by the light. And so the entities, we are encouraging all the entities to step right into that portal right there and be transmuted into light. So let's see where we're at here. Well, I would think that we've gotten about the bottom 4 taken care of at this point. That just they surrendered and went into the light. But some of the more powerful entities, for some reason or other, are a bit more stubborn. Now, you can add more light. You can push more light into the area, different colors of light, different frequencies of light. And I do that certainly for discarnate entities. But carnate entities, what are carnate entities? They're just simply misqualified light. They don't really have a life. They've just taken on a life by their energy. So I have no compassion. There's no compassion for carnate entities. They're simply misqualified light. And I'm doing the planet a favor by getting rid of them. And by getting rid of them, I'm just changing them back to the original light, releasing them back into that, releasing the misqualification back into the original light. Now, you can do it. We could hang around here for a long time, but we have a limited amount of time. So we're going to turn up the energy here. So let's say, so if I run into this situation, I then use lightning bolts. As you might know, if you're wandering around outside and all of a sudden a lightning bolt comes down within 50 feet of you, it definitely gets your attention. Could we all agree on that? Okay, so same thing. So we can use bolts of blue lightning to encourage these recalcitrant entities to step into the vortex. Now, for their own good. Now, if that continues, then there's any number of additional encouragements. But if I have a thought form, which is a cage, basically. It's a cage that drops onto the entity. It, instead of bars, it has blades. The blades close in on the entity rather quickly and transmute the whole thing into light. So I think that's what we'll do with, or that's what we just did with the 28, minus 28er. And at that point, usually anybody else who's been hanging out surrenders and runs lickety-split into the vortex, and off it goes. So, do we have any more entities in this room? Have all the entities in this room been cleared? Okay, so I double check to make sure. Well, ghosts could be, I think in many cases, as I said before, most people identify carnate entities as ghosts. I think people just think everyone's a dead person running around. That's not the case in most cases. Not all cases. Not all cases. So, so now we've gotten rid of the entities. So now we're going to add, well, how about if we just, and then we'll have questions. I want to make sure we got to get to the end here. So, so I want to, so now we've gotten rid of all the entities. The place is still being saturated with violet flame. And now I have a cleaning lady. Her name's Jenny. Jenny is the best. She comes once a month. And when Jenny comes, I shout, "We're saved. Jenny's here." And then when I come back after Jenny's cleaned our house, you can feel the order, the pristine purity, until I mess the whole place up, and then it's next month. But in most cases, energetically, what we find is, let's just say Jenny never came. Never came for me, never came for the family that lived there before me, never came for the family that lived there before them. And in some cases around New Hampshire, that before them and before them and before them. The place would be an absolute pigsty. The toilets, the spills in the kitchen, the dirty dishes, the mess, the slop. And that's why the energy frequency in this place and in most homes are way below your energy frequency, because things have raised up with the Aquarian age. People are raising, and their home is a mess. So, so now, then I move to purity. Now, purity, everybody, me included, needs more purity. Purity is so important and so lacking on this planet. So purity is white, and also purity and transparency. So when you get to transparency, what is it? You can't see it. It's gone. It's perfectly clear. So purity is the one that goes clockwise, and transparency is counterclockwise. So you flood the area again with purity. Now, what I like to do is, there is this thing, the Mr. Clean magic eraser. That thing is like a miracle. You have spots, places you can't get out. You go up there with that magic eraser. It's gone. How did it do it? So what I like to do is I like to engage a large number of angelic hosts to decked out with Mr. Clean magic erasers, but in this case on the edge with blue edges for extra strength. And then they flood the entire area and scrub all of the walls, all of the chairs, all the carpeting, all the furniture, all the ceiling, all the lights, down to the studs, down to the exterior of the walls, outside the home, and absolutely clear everything. Now, what happens to a magic eraser when it's all dirty and worn out? Well, you got to throw it out. So it flies right up through. They just keep getting new ones. It flies right up. The old magic erasers go right up through the portal, transmuted, the light, all the dirt that's built up over the years, all the slop, all the crap, all the negative energies cleared out and up through the portal, basically being transmuted back into their original light. So now that we've gotten that done, then I radiate and flood the area with emerald green to heal any tears or any areas that have been damaged, or like somebody put, um, emotionally speaking, their fist through the door, or things like that. So you basically clear and heal all of those with emerald green light. Emerald green is healing health, vision, goes clockwise, truth and honesty, celadon green or citrus green, counterclockwise, flood again the area, repair all the damage that's been done. Is citrus green, or I like celadon green, but citrus green, celadon green. It's all, again, the range of green from emerald green down to citrus green. And so now we've gotten rid of all the entities. We've cleaned out the whole space. We've purified the area. We've transmuted all the darkness back into its original light. And we still have the ball twirling. So then I always then proceed with what additional light colors are needed. So let's just, for adding one, let's add peach. Peach light is joy. So peach light goes clockwise. So peach light will go clockwise, and then joy is, everybody knows joy, joy, joy. And it just adds a little bit of brightness to the room. And then there's any number of other light essences that, well, there are 24 light essences that I use. But, and we've used 9 for this space clearing. So then, how do we know we're done? Well, we could say, are we done? Or you can feel. I always like to know that I'm done by feeling a peace. And then I double check, am I done? So then I say, is it okay for me to pick up the quantum ring, close the portal? Yes. So then I pick up the portal, close the portal, no more portal, so nothing gets back in, or, well, nothing. Portals only go one way for me, so there isn't anything. However, I wouldn't mind from the higher realms if things came down, so now we've space cleared the room. So now we want to, well, let's say, okay, so now that we've space cleared the room, show me the energy frequency of the room in hundreds. In tens, above hundreds? In ones above 330. Okay, well this is it's showing off. So it's 333. Okay, so and we started out at what? 9, 9, really 9. So 333. Now, you were 116? Okay, so now this place is a suitable place for her at 333. And uh, in the David Hawkins scale, show me the energy frequency in hundreds. Is it did it make it to 900? Okay, no. 800, 800 and so it's, I mean, really, I could just, it stops where it stops. So if it stops here, we'll say it's 880. So if it's 880, that means, what were your name, sir? David. So David was like 5 whatever, which was people were impressed, right? Well, now he's got 880. So a nice so it's like a high energy frequency friend again. So that is what I do with space clearing. Now, the other thing is we want to close this and seal the room permanently so that additional entities don't come roaming in, right? Or we want to preserve the high energy frequency in this place. So we're going to establish we're going to encase the entire room in a wall of blue lightning, 3 feet thick. So it's going to go above, below, sides, back, front. A 3 feet thick blue lightning, wall of blue lightning. Now you can walk through it, but no entities are getting through a 3 foot thick wall of blue lightning. And we're going to make that permanent. Permanent. And then we're going to encase, as a closing activity, the entire room and space clearing in a golden light, dome of golden light. Now we'll make this, the dome can be again a case rather than a round thing. I usually like to do houses in round because it can go into the earth and everything else. But here we just we're suspended here. So we're going to take 12 feet, a golden dome, 12 feet on each side, outside the wall of blue flame, all around this area. And then we're going to make that permanent. And so that's going to be a little gift to Plymouth State University that'll just be here all the time. So, and we're in the hub, right? The hub. So this is the hub of the wheel. So it's good to be in the hub. It'll radiate out, perhaps.
So next year when we're here, we can measure and it's going to be the same.
Should be. Yeah. Should be the same. Let's start small. Yes, time for questions.
So you're saying if we were, let's say, come back next year, you would find no entities in this room?
Correct.
Okay, so let's say within this year, an angry teacher, an angry student brings in here and spends a lot of time, spends a whole semester, and they have anger, and they have entities on top of them or within them.
They're not making it through the blue lightning. They'll just be, we'll qualify the blue lightning, that it actually transmutes the entities, absolutely transmutes them. So you can imagine that if you're wandering around and it'll just transmute the entity back into light, it'll strip it from the individual. Now they're going to have to change their attitude, or they can go out of here and get more entities. But every time they come back into the room, it's going to be a strip job. So no entities are making it in here. Yes. I do it all remotely. Yeah, basically I do this all remotely. Now there was one thing I was missing, but keep going.
It's interesting when we realize how powerful our thoughts are, right? We all just sat here and we just imagined that. And I think everybody felt it at the end. The air felt tingly and more clear. What I'm wondering is we have all these amazingly powerful people, and when we all put our minds together and really clearly intend something, things happen. And I'm just curious if there's efforts to really pull magical people like us together to get us to use our intention together to clear things. It seems so doable and so possible and so real. And when we do things together, it's even more powerful. So I don't know if there's really things going on, but I'd be curious to know and participate in any sort of big clearing efforts that we all use our magical minds together to do. And you just really opened me up to just how powerful it is. It's just a thought, clear intention.
Now you're going to have to excuse me because I missed one thing. And of course, it wasn't in this room. But I was going to share with you a clearing that I did in Jamaica. Because in the clearing in Jamaica, I had a discarnate entity. So I do all the space clearing that I've done. I get rid of all of the entities. And then all of this clearing and everything. And so in this Jamaica clearing, there was what appeared to be a young girl in the corner of the room. And now after all the stuff that I just did, she was really uncomfortable and frightened and didn't know what the heck was going on. And she was in very bad shape because some of these discarnate entities have been around for a very long time and are in bad condition. So what I did in that case is that after all the entities were gone, all the space was basically cleared. Before I finished it, I then, now in clearing discarnate entities, I'm cautious. I have two spirit guides. I have a female spirit guide and a male spirit guide that I work with for all of my space clearing work. And in this particular instance, the female spirit guide stepped through the veil, walked over to the girl, and took her hand, and she got up, and they started walking across the floor. She was in like the opposite corner to where the portal was. And so about halfway across the floor, she collapsed. She just collapsed on the floor. And so then the spirit guide picked her up and carried her across the rest of the way across the floor into the portal. This is why we have a portal. That's really what the use of the portal is. And then consumed in the light, and now this soul, this person, now then gets carried on to the realm, given the proper treatment, carried to the realm of light where they can proceed on their advancement and then continue on. So it's a great service. It's a great service, a great service. But so that's, I'm always cautious when I'm dealing with discarnate entities. Now I'm doing this all remotely, so it's really no different than being here, doing it remotely. It's the same thing. Everyone is one, and every place. Now I will oftentimes, when I work remotely, I will pull the place up on Google Earth. So I don't need to, but I see what's happening in the vicinity, what the other places are. It's helpful for me. So I meant to incorporate that, and I got carried away with just this room. So, go ahead.
In our own homes, do we do the whole house as a unit, or do you want to go and buy one?
Whole house
If we stand
and
in the
land.
center or anywhere in the-
Pardon me?
Stand in the center of the home or any room and just see 10 years?
Well, I generally work I find a center place. This is a very good space to douse this room. There's a positive vortex just over here. It's a lovely spot. This is a great spot to douse this particular thing. It doesn't have to be in the middle. Yes?
A multi-unit building, same thing. You can do the whole thing.
You can do the whole thing, or you can do one individual apartment. Yes.
I was wondering about raising, would it be, thinking about like Sedona and there's, high energy spots there, my instincts you should go there and do ceremony and leave. Would it be possible for your living space to get to high energy for comfortable day-to-day living, or is that?
Yes. Well, when we brought this terrible spot to a high energy frequency that's beneficial for the people. And then you're doing other things too to raise your energy frequency.
Before this class, did you check the other three spaces and check?
Now, well, I can feel energy. So I walk in them, they're nice spots. This is terrible. So that's the way it goes. Was terrible. Yes. No, it will draw everybody. Everybody is compelled from within and pushed from without to greater perfection. Other people, some people are slower, and other people are quicker, but it'll be like a high energy frequency friend for that person. Don't expect people, though, other than yourself, to necessarily, you can't force somebody to change. They've got to change themselves. It's a do-it-yourself job here. And so you can't force people to, I learned that in the Crusades. It doesn't work. Well, they'd automatically raise a little bit. They'd probably drag the house down a little bit. Well, how often do you want to space clear your place? Well, first of all, for God's sakes, space clear your place at least once. Once. Most people haven't even space cleared their place once. And then once a year is good. New Year's, Chinese New Year. Some people like to do it solstices, a couple times a year. It just depends. So yeah, if you've got a continuing drag, it sometimes requires more than one. But the energy, surprisingly, is very resilient. So it will. You're not gonna start leaking. Certainly not right away.
Do you have a website?
Yes, I do. What I'll do is I'll leave a business card here if anybody, I mean, my company does do space clearings. Certainly all of you can learn how to do this. You can do it, and you can all do it. You all are perfectly capable of doing it. Some people don't like to do toilet cleaning and the like, and that's why Dowsing Design is here to assist you if you need it. But everybody has the ability to do this themselves, particularly with a little training and work in that regard. I think we've run out of time. Well, yeah, that'll be great.
And references, books to read.
Well, Raymond Grace is very good. I mean, I use this one. I mean, it has a wealth of space clearing information. Raymond's very good. Okay, I'm sorry.
All right, I'm going to echo what Eileen said before. There is a vital need for us to join together and working on resolving some of the issues in the complete negative energies, demonic energies that are all around the planet. And I'm going to strongly encourage you to set something up and lead us in doing it your way. And if not you, then I've got to ask for commitments of people that are in the room to do the same, to organize together, because together, where 2 or 3 are gathered together, there I am in the midst. So please do it.
Well, and there are demons. Now, fortunately, there weren't any demons in here, but you can clear you clear demons as well. I ran into a space clearing in which there were 10 demons from an old witchcraft scene and human sacrifice and terrible things like that. But you clear those too. Off they go.
As Eileen said, all we are saying
Okay. No, because I have one last thing. One last thing. I can't hold you any longer, but I'm going to read you just a little poem, and you can take it on your way out. It's an I am light poem. I am light, glowing light, radiating light, intensified light. This day I am a focus of the central sun. Flowing through me is a crystal river, a living fountain of light that can never be requalified by human thought and feeling. I'm an outpost of the divine. Such darkness as has used me is swallowed up by the mighty river of light which I am. I am, I am, I am light. I live, I live, I live in light. I am light's fullest dimension. I am light's purest intention. I am light, 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 flooding the world everywhere I move, blessing, strengthening, and conveying the purpose of the kingdom of heaven. So thank you very much. Anybody can have one of these as well.